and I weigh 101 kilos. And I'm gonna put my foot underneath the bed of the lathe. Rightio, we've gone out, we've cut all our little platter blanks, our bowl blanks, and we're ready to go. We're ready to start doing some turning, right? And now this bowl platter mounting technique will absolutely blow your mind of how simple it is. But before we go down that route, I'm gonna eliminate some other methods that we could have used, right? Because as wood turners, as craftsmen, men and women, we like to have an abundance of methods to our repertoire that we can use to get around things that we might come in front, like little obstacles that we might incur, and we want to know a way around it. So what I'm getting at there is the other bowl and platter mounting techniques that I mentioned in my previous video. We're going to go through those and eliminate them because this is our last resort at this stage, okay? You might notice that I'm standing next to this beautiful drill press here. It's absolutely stunning. First method, the Richard Raffin remounting technique. We can't do that. These are just, they've got no tenon on them. So we can't put it in a chuck and make a recess on the inside and then form it back on. So that method's gone. The Glenn Lucas, the remounting plate, we haven't made it yet. So we can't do that either. Our chuck screw, we don't know where the chuck screw's gone. It's in the shavings somewhere, we've lost it. So that's handy. The face plate, we've misplaced our face plate, and I don't know about you, but I don't want to go and screw in 4 screws for, I don't know how many's here, say 20 little platters and bowls. That doesn't seem like a very fun time in the shop, even though I used to do that. We don't want to do that one either. Last one, we don't have a chuck big enough to actually hold on to the outside of it and be able to make our recess in the back. So this method is so simple, and over on this beautiful drill press, you may have noticed that I've got a Forstner bit in there. This is a 50mm chuck, the VM100 with 50mm chuck jewels on there. This Forstner bit just goes to the outside over the top of it, right? I'm gonna mount that into the drill press. Right, so these chuck jaws, I know that they're about 10mm in depth, and that will assist me in how deep I go with my Forstner bit, right? So first, before I turn it on, I'm going to come down. I've already marked the center hole. I know where the center hole is. So I come down, and because all Forstner bits have that little spear that goes in, I'm going to come down, I'm just going to mark it. I'm going to pull the Oh, come on, old girl. What are you doing to me? Killing me. I'm going to come down. I'm just going to make a little indent. So now I know that when I pull this down, it's going to fall into that little recess. One handy little thing you can do, you can mark the bottom of your Forstner bit up 10mm, right? And that'll help you out. And I'm just going to do, this is really rough here. Line it back up again. Drill press. Whoop. Let's put some safety specs on. Safety first. Drill press on. Head come down, coming down, coming down, coming down. Take your time. We now have ourselves a recess. I know. Rightio, I know what you're thinking. You don't need to go out and buy a drill press. I'm not trying to sell stuff to you here. You don't need to go buy one. Just get your Forstner bit and your drill. I have tried using a spade bit, but I find with the spade bits, the tip, the spur thing, the spear, is a little bit too long, and if you're working with minimal material, the spur's already in nearly halfway by the time that you make your recess, your mortise, for your chuck. So it just wastes a lot of material. So Forstner bit, I find works best, in my opinion. Lock it in there, lock and loaded. Now, you will need a clamp, simply just to, because you're not an octopus to start with, to hold your piece down. So clamp it down to the bench. Now, the way I do this, I hold the drill beside me, hand over the top, like you're gonna hold the web of your hand right in high up on your drill, and then hold that battery in beside yourself, because it gives that drill, you've got a lot of support on the drill then. You've already made your little indent. And then see the way the battery's in beside my body there, and that way it won't spin out of control, because you're going to be turning this way. It's going to be turning into the side of your body, and you're going to be able to hold it with a lot more control. Find our point, and then and drill down. Sometimes I have found, when I've done it this way before, is to, when you are drilling, just to give a slight little rocking motion with the Forstner bit, just to allow it to get into the timber, and that works an absolute treat as well. But holding it this way, nice and plumb, so vertical, and then pushing it down works a treat. So now we are ready to mount this on the lathe. So let's go do that. And now all we need to do is mount our chuck on the lathe, get our blank, present it up to the face. And now obviously, if I was you, before starting out drilling, I would pick the face that would be the smooth, like the flattest surface. And here I've picked the dodgy side. And another thing is, try not to go too deep, because obviously they do have that little spur on the end. Put it on the face of the chuck here. Put pressure from behind, so you're pushing it up against the face of the chuck jaws. Tighten it up. And do the old, gotta do the pull test. And that is on there. And I weigh 101 kilos. And I'm gonna put my foot underneath the bed of the lathe. And I'm gonna put my weight on that. That is not coming off. Bring up your tool rest, put it in position. Now there is no reason why you can't use your tailstock. Bring that up for that extra safety. If that's something that you really just want to lock it all in, do that. But you just saw me, I'm 101 kilos and I was swinging off that and it didn't come off. Get your helmet. Let's just do a real heavy cut on it. That's up at 1500 RPMs. I'm just gonna that was a pretty heavy cut. Pull it on again. And that isn't going anywhere. So it's all well and good that I was swinging off this when it was on the lathe, right? And I know that some people out there are thinking that this is actually a dangerous way of doing things, and it can be a dangerous way of doing things. That's why I only turn small pieces doing this technique. I wouldn't turn a 16 or a 17-inch salad bowl with a mortise. I'd always turn it with a tenon. Reason being is if you picture it like this, right? The tree was growing up like this, and then you're putting something in between the fibers and forcing it apart to lock in there, if that makes sense. So you're sort of pushing in and then spreading it apart. So when you're making a tenon, you're grabbing all those fibers and you're pulling the fibers in, you're locking it all into the center there. The beauty about knowing all these different techniques, like I mentioned in that previous video that I made about the 4 different ways of how to mount your bowls. As wood turners, we need to know numerous ways of doing things. So when we're faced with an obstacle at the lathe, bang, we know how to do it. Or even better, we see a friend that is having a bit of a hard time putting different things on the lathe and it's holding them up from being here and turning and enjoying what they're doing. We know how to help them out. And that then strengthens our community as wood turners and craftsmen and just pushes us forward, pushes that needle forward and helping one another. That's what I love about all this. So having numerous different ways of doing things is just a feather in your cap for later on. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Check out this one here on the 4 different ways. There's 4 other ways that I mentioned earlier of doing this, but this is if you are out of ideas. Cheers, guys. I will talk to you all directly. Bye.